And now we have another special treat for you, a really special treat for you. Martha, you're a hard act to follow, but I think Renee can do that. At age 29, former Young American performer Renee Bondi was engaged to be married. She had a beautiful singing voice, a thriving career as a music teacher, and a loving family. But then a nightmare accident shattered her spine and left her quadriplegic. Her life changed forever. Renee lost not only the use of her hands and her legs, but also her singing voice. She could barely speak above a whisper. Unwilling to accept that her life was over, she searched her heart and she sought the Lord for direction. After many dark days and against all odds, especially physicians' prognosis, her voice was miraculously restored. So Renee harnessed her talents to inspire and give hope to others. She has been featured now on TV and radio programs, including It's a Miracle, Life Today, and The Hour of Power, as well as on the cover of today's Christian Women's Magazine. And also today, she is a wife, a mother, a music teacher, an author, a popular speaker, and recording artist. I met Renee last year, and I have experienced personally her marvelous talent and her marvelous spirit. I also have her very first CD that she recorded since her voice was restored. It's called Inner Voice, and I cherish it. I listen to it every day on my way to work. We proudly and courageously present the talented and the courageous Renee Bondi.
Good morning. Thank you, June. And so you had one height of Martha, and now you're getting the short one, Renee, over here. Thank you, Martha. It was a treat to be able to hear you for the first time, a real treat. Well, what a privilege to be able to be with you today. As June was sharing with you, when I was 29 years old, and yes, that was just a few years ago, life was great. And now by this time, I'm realizing you're probably done with lunch, and you're sitting at round tables, which means there's 2 or 3 of you that have to have your back to me and all. So I really do invite those of you that have to have your back to you, take a minute, stand up, turn that chair around, and get comfortable. Otherwise, tomorrow morning you're going to wake up with this big old kink in your neck, and you're going to hate me, and you're going to hate we, and everything else. So please get comfortable, get that chair turned around so that you can lean back a little bit. Well, as we were saying, when I was 29, life was great. Life was wonderful. I had a super job. I was teaching vocal music choir at San Clemente High School, San Clemente, Surf City, USA. We were number 1 in the state for surf team, number 2 in the state for water polo, number 1 or 2 in the state for swim team, but our football team stunk. We were absolutely awful. But because you literally could walk to the beach from San Clemente's campus, water sports ruled, as they say. Well, when I started there was only 18 in the whole choir program, which really tells you where Bach and Brahms and Mozart were on the priority list of surfer dude, San Clemente. But just like anything, when you really love it, cultivate it, fertilize it, it's going to grow. And within 2 years, the program had grown to 150 students and now was on the rise. Now, I share with you that story of the 150 students because that number is going to have some significance here as the story unfolds, all right? You're going to have to remember that I had 150 students at the time. Didn't know there was going to be a test here, huh? Love life was awesome. I was engaged to a great guy by the name of Mike. I was all excited about our wedding that was coming up. Everything from the final fitting of the bridal gown to picking up the bridesmaids' dresses to the food to the music. I was all right smack in the middle of it all, being just 2 months before the wedding. So career was great. Love life was awesome. And then came one night in the middle of May, just the night before. Mike, my fiance, had flown into town from Denver. He was living in Colorado at the time. I was living in San Juan Capistrano, born and raised in South Orange County when Orange County was orange. Born and raised in the middle of a sun-kissed orange grove. Mike flew into town to be my date to the prom. We had been asked to chaperone San Clemente High School's prom. And Mike had taken me to dinner before we went to the prom and surprised me with my rock, with my engagement ring. And I was blown out of the water because it really was a rock. And even though, I don't know what the deal is with us talking about diamonds today, but even though we were engaged for a whole year, he wasn't able to afford my ring. So he had made payments on it, made the final payment on it, surprised me with it at dinner. So we had a very romantic dinner. And then we went to the prom. The next day, he flew back to Colorado. I went over to the high school to conduct the orchestra in the spring musical. And this was a banner day because it was a sold-out crowd. And trust me, to get those surfers off the beach and into the theater on a Sunday afternoon in the middle of May, this was a banner day. I went to bed that night feeling great, really excited about my life. The next thing I know, I woke up out of a sound, deep sleep, diving off the end of my bed onto my head. I had woken up midair thinking, huh? Hit my head on the ground, heard my neck, finished the flip, laying flat on my back with my feet halfway in the closet, my head up against the dust ruffle of my bed, boom! And I thought, oh man, now I've done it. I just thought I had royally kinked my neck. That's all. So I went to get up to go back to bed. As I did, I rolled over on my left shoulder. As I rolled over on my left shoulder, the right side of my neck, I felt, oh, man. The pain threw me back on my back. I thought, woo, I can't get up that way. So I tried another way to get up, this time rolling over on my right shoulder. As I rolled over on my right shoulder, the left side of my neck, I felt, the pain threw me back on my back again, and now I was wide awake. I realized I needed some help to get up, and so I went to holler for my roommate, Dorothy. And as I hollered out for Dorothy, all that came out was, Dorothy. It was a whisper. And I thought, come on, you're a singer, you teach breathing. Come on, I took another breath from way down below. And again, all that came out was a whisper, and now I was really scared because I knew there was no way she was going to hear me. We lived in a 2-story condo. She lived upstairs. I lived downstairs. My bedroom door was closed. But within about 2 or 3 minutes, I heard, Renee? Renee? The door opens to my bedroom. Dorothy sees me on the floor and says, what are you doing on the floor? It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I said, I don't know, but it's my neck. It's killing me. I did something serious. Call 911. I take it as no coincidence that Dorothy's a nurse. And she was already sizing me up. She could see that I was white as a ghost. I was screaming of the pain in my neck, and my voice had been reduced to a whisper. She picked up the phone and called 911. The rest is history. I had broken my neck at cervical vertebrae 4, leaving me quadriplegic, quad meaning all 4 limbs, completely paralyzed for the first year, year and a half. And then once the swelling of the spinal cord went down, which takes about a year, more messages were able to get from my brain through the big kink in my neck down to my biceps, which is why now my arms work, but still my wrists, my fingers, obviously my legs don't work. To this day, we still don't have any idea what happened. I don't have any history of sleepwalking, any history of any kind of disease that would cause a seizure. The only thing we can think of is that I must have been having some sort of a dream where I was diving, which still makes no sense to me because I was no jock before this and to be doing some Mexico cliff diving thing makes no sense to me. But that's literally the position I was in when I awoke. The doctor said that I would never walk again, that I would never have functional use of my hands again, and that I would most likely never sit up without throwing up, but you in the front row don't have anything to worry about. You're okay. As you all move back. No. Well, when I was in the hospital, I had a good friend who was a vocal coach, a voice teacher like I was. And she would come and observe me often in the hospital. And she noticed that every time I had a lot of visitors, I would try to breathe deeply and try to talk louder because remember, my voice was reduced to the whisper. And the reason for that is because I broke cervical vertebrae 4. If I'd broken 3, 2, or 1 higher on my neck, I'd be on a ventilator or a breathing machine the rest of my life. But because I broke the neighbor, cervical 4, my diaphragm still worked, but all the muscles around my diaphragm were severely compromised, paralyzed. So my diaphragm didn't have anything to push against. So my voice was reduced to the whisper. Obviously, I wasn't going to be doing any recording project unless it was a Marilyn Monroe CD or something. So she came in, she said, I don't care if you walk again, but you got to sing again. So she was noticing, as I was breathing deeper, to talk louder, that my diaphragm, or my stomach, would go up and down. One day, she came in with a 1-pound ankle weight. You know those Velcro weights that people put around their wrists or their feet? And she laid one right across my diaphragm so that every time I would take a breath, it would essentially make my diaphragmatic muscles lift weights. A week later, she came in with 2 pounds. A week later, 3 pounds, up to 10, up to 20. And by the time I was finished with the 5 months in the hospital, I was up to 50 pounds on my stomach. Didn't matter to me. Put a truck on my stomach, I couldn't feel it because I have absolutely no feeling from above my chest down. Slowly but surely, over the course of the next couple of years, my voice was coming back. Well, life goes on. One year after I got out of the hospital, Mike and I got married. And this year we're celebrating 21 years of marriage. Then, as I say, praise God and praise Mike. He's a great guy. I do a lot of traveling, and some of the events I do are speaking to youth, and I always say, don't settle. Don't settle for junk and your boyfriends and your girlfriends, because you never know when that relationship is going to be tested to the max. If you'd ever told me that my boyfriend turned fiance, turned husband, because they start as boyfriends, was going to have to help me put my bra on, I would have said, yeah, right. Then, about a year after getting married, the pastor at our church came over and said, hey, why don't you come be the youth choir director at the church? Because remember, at that time, I wasn't back at San Clemente High teaching. And my response to him was, there's no way. I can't do it. There's no way. By the time I get the page turned, the song will be over. There's no way, and I'm crying. He says, well, let's just try it. We'll get you a couple volunteer moms. We'll have them come turn the pages of your music. Pass the music out to the kids. Take roll. Hey, we'll even have them drive you from your house to the church. An hour and a half once a week. Baby steps, right? So I tried it. How many students do you think I had my very first year? Everyone? 150. Good. You were listening. 150. The same number that I had at the high school before I got hurt. And I'll never forget the day that I realized it. I was counting up, one of the choir moms put the roll book on my lap, and I was counting up numbers because we had choir sweatshirts and we were having to make sure we had enough inventory for kids. I was counting up 148, 149, 150. And I remember it because it was a round number. 150. I remember looking up thinking, you are one detail-oriented God. Then, 6 years into our marriage, I gave birth to a beautiful baby boy, naturally, no C-section, and hey, I didn't feel a thing. Life goes on. What can I share with you today so that you don't have to break your neck to learn it? Over the years, people have asked me, Renee, what do you do on a daily basis? I'll get through the bushes here. What do you do on a daily basis to keep from being a raging idiot? And yes, there are days where I am a raging idiot. But how do you smile and laugh in that wheelchair? And there's 4 things that I'd like to share with you. And ironically, when I was putting this together some time back, I laughed because you know what it spelled. The 4 actions that I do, of course I kind of had to move them around for a moment, spells dive, D-I-V-E. So whenever I am starting to dive into that valley, dive back into that self-pity or that embarrassment of going out in public as a quadriplegic and worried that people are going to see the hardware before they see the person. These are the 4 things that really truly have helped me, and I hope it does you. The D stands for decide. Decide. Do you really want to get out of that valley? Not everybody does. Do you really want to dig your way out? And also decide, what kind of person do you want to be? Do you want to be the jerk to work for? Or do you want to be somebody that people really want to be with? And for me, Many days it is a conscious effort when you have to have a caregiver every morning come in to help you use the bathroom, get dressed, pull your underwear on, put your bra on, shirt, blouse, blow your nose. Am I going to be a jerk? Or am I going to put a smile on my face? Decide. The I stands for invite. Invite people into your world, into your heart, into your life to help you with the task at hand. We were not created to be an island. That I know for sure. And even the simplest of things that just happened last week, I'm not unable to drive. Yes, I could, but as my husband says, we've come way too far to end up brain injured on top of this whole thing. And so, I have a group of friends that over the years that have offered, Renee, let me help you. I'll give you a ride to the doctors. I'll give you a ride to Ontario to speak to WE. I can do this. And my initial response was, oh, no, I'll find a way. It's okay. But now I have a group of probably 20 people. In the world of email, it's great. You have a group email, and at the beginning of every month, I shoot out an email to that group saying, these are the errands I need to run for the month. If any of you have any time at all and it's not a burden, please sign up and let me know. And normally within 24 hours, that list is filled up. I could not do 1/10 of what I do without inviting people into my life. Not to use them, there's a difference, but to allow people to serve, because we all need to. The V stands for volunteer. Volunteer to help others going through the difficult times. I'm so grateful that my pain is used to help dig people out of their valley. Again, we're not meant to be islands. We're meant to serve as well. And also, in this volunteering time, it's not only just to make us feel better. That's pretty self-serving in the world of serving, isn't it? But when we step out of our comfort zone and volunteer, all of a sudden we start seeing talents that we never realized that we had. So dive, invite, volunteer, and the E stands for enter. And for me personally, the enter means enter into a relationship with God. Because I can tell you from the bottom of my toes that it is by my commitment and saying, all right, I'm walking this with God, that I receive my strength, the grace, and the guidance and the direction to know not only what to do in my life, for my mission statement, for my goals, but also what to do on a daily basis on how to even get here this morning to be with you today. So, when I start diving in to the valley again, for example, when I say I need to decide what kind of person I'm going to be, there's times where I definitely fall short. My husband, at times, especially in my 50s and the hormones starting to go crazy. The other day, my husband called. He always calls on his way home from work, and he says, all right, which wife am I coming home to today? Sometimes I fall short of these things. I'm not perfect at this, by no means, but I've gotten better by practice. Dive, invite, volunteer, and enter. Yes, it was the last dance, but it definitely was not the last song. Me, an author, a recording artist, a wife and a mom, with a classroom much larger than I ever imagined. Someday, every person on this earth, somewhere, everyone. Someday, we will learn what life is worth, how precious is each birth, everyone. Though the dark and cold threaten every soul, look into your heart for what you need to know. If you're gonna dream high. Never let the fear of the unknown give you reason not to try. While I live, let me learn to give what's mine, and at the journey's end, you'll know the reason why. If you truly wanna fly, dream high. People, some may fly beyond the stars, and people, some may fall. But maybe if we believe in who we are, though the distance seems too far, after all, never be denied. Reach for what's inside and look into your heart for what you need to find. So if you're gonna dream high. Never let the fear of the unknown give you reason not to try. While I live, let me learn to give what's mine, and at the journey's end, you'll know the reason why. If you truly wanna fly, dream high. While I live, let me learn to give what's mine, and at the journey's end, you'll know the reason why. If you truly wanna fly, you can surely fly. If you truly wanna fly, ooh, dream high. Amen. God bless you, and thank you so very much for having me. Thank you.